So again, for people who are just logging in and joining us here this morning, I want to say welcome to our this morning's webcast. It's part of the Corridor 9 495 Regional Chambers effort to share information and knowledge with small, mid-sized businesses throughout our region, particularly as we're adapting to some pretty dramatic changes in the way we are working in the economy. We don't just want ourselves to thrive, we don't want ourselves just to survive, we want ourselves to thrive, and as we get past the COVID-19 crisis, be able to emerge and recover in a way that's great. My name's Alan Falcon. I'm CEO of Cumulus Global, and a bit of a pragmatic evangelist when it comes to collaboration, communication, and all things cloud forward. I'm joined today by Mike Pasquarella. Mike, give a wave. He's going to help me demo some of the features we're going to talk about here today in the Office 365 ecosystem. And our real hope today is you realize that if you're running Office 365, that you have a lot of capabilities in your environment that you can use to support remote work and the way most businesses are organizing themselves today. And if you're not running Office 365, if you're still running on-premise file servers and email services, or maybe your email's hosted, but your file server is local, this could be a good direction. It's affordable, it's easy to move into, get you up and running with the tools you're familiar using as far as the Office suite of applications, and give your employees and your team a better ability to work together, collaborate, engage with your customers and clients as well. And so we will get started here. And after that welcome, a couple of things I want to note. Right now, everyone's audio is muted. That prevents any background noise from getting in the way. And occasionally, yes, we've had people on our webinars who've had to put the phone on hold and we've gotten the music. So audio is muted. So if you have questions, there's an icon along the top or the right-hand side of your screen that'll open a questions window. That is the best way to ask questions. We know who's asking. We can track which ones we've answered to make sure we get all your questions answered. We'll take them in line as appropriate and as I can catch them, and we'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. And additionally, if you have something that's very specific to your business or your environment, let us know. Don't need to share that in the questions window. We're happy after the session to get on the phone with you and talk one-to-one and help you out. The session is being recorded. We'll provide a copy to the chamber so that they'll be able to post it up and make it available for folks. And also want to point out that, again, this is part of a series of web-based and remote events that the chamber is doing to help businesses in our community. Next Tuesday, and all of the events you can access on the chamber website. Next Tuesday is an important one on the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, otherwise known as EIDL. You've probably heard about the payroll protection program that's underway right now. Is hopefully sometime today, SBA lenders can start processing those applications. If you're in need of emergency funds, the payroll protection, a lot of what they're going to loan the money to you for, as far as payroll, rent, utilities, will be forgiven at the end of an 8-week period or the end of the second quarter. So if you haven't yet talked to your banker, if you don't have a loan officer already at your bank and just have a depository account, contact your branch and talk to your branch manager ASAP today. You'll want to get in on that process. It's not expected that the $350 billion is going to last very long. It's going to get used up pretty quick. Next week and the following week, the chamber is doing a happy hour virtual networking set of events. That's great. It's a great way to stay engaged with your peers and other businesses in the community. As we deal with the physical separation, the goal is not to really be socially separated or socially isolated, to be physically apart but socially together. So these happy hour virtual networking events are a chance to reconnect or connect with fellow business owners and leaders in our community and stay in touch, discuss, share information, and maybe be able to help each other out a bit as things go forward. And finally, us as a company, we are doing blog posts relevant to small and mid-sized businesses on technologies, financial assistance, and other resources available. We're trying to update those blog posts every day and a half, so check back. Also, we're running events and we're highlighting events from the Corridor 9 Chamber, and other trusted partners. We'll have an event schedule for next week up on our website by end of day today. So check out those links as well. Is a resource that you can find out what's happening in our business community to help you adapt and survive. So diving into the topic here today, talk a little bit about sort of where are we at business, as businesses, and the business environment right now, and sort of a nice analogy, or I guess my daughter, the linguistics person, tells me it's more of a metaphor as to where we are and where we're going. And you might recognize the picture. That's Captain Sully Sullenberg's U.S. air flight that ended up in the Hudson River just prior to the rescue boats coming to save the day as well. And in an interview after the incident, he was asked, sort of, how do you do that? Where do you focus your attention in that kind of an emergency? And he said it's really simple. And he used the acronym ANC, which is aviate, navigate, and communicate. And he says something drastically unexpected happens, and you're flying a plane. The first thing you do is aviate, right? The most important thing is to keep the plane in the air and from hitting anything. It could be a mountainside, it could be a building, it all depends on where you are at the time the emergency happens. And he says that'll take all of your time and attention, and it should. And it really doesn't matter where you are, or even what direction you're pointing in, because you will be on the lookout to make sure you don't hit things. The goal is to keep the plane in the air, right? Once you're able to do that, and that doesn't take 100% of your time, then you can navigate. You can figure out exactly where you are, which direction you should be heading in, where you're going to be able to find that nice, safe, soft landing that you want. And that'll take time and energy as well. So now you're spending time on aviating still, keeping the plane in the air, and doing that navigation. And yes, in an airplane, as you navigate, you're going to be talking to other people. You're going to be talking to air traffic control. You might be talking to your own airline operations center a little bit to figure out what you're going to do. And then third, when you're able to aviate and when you're able to navigate, and that doesn't require 100% of your time and attention, then you can communicate. And that's when the cabin, the cockpit crew talks to the cabin crew and makes the announcement for the passengers. That's when they go back to their operations center to explain what's going on in detail, and maybe talk to the mechanical staff or other emergency support. That's when the pilot will go back to air traffic control with the details of what's wrong with the aircraft and what they might need on landing and what to expect, right? And so, and of course, as you're doing this, and if you're at a point where you're able to aviate, navigate, and communicate, and have the time and the focus, something else may happen, and you may be back to only aviating. In fact, if you ever have listened to the air traffic control of that flight, you will notice at a point in time, first they aviate, they get the plane, they figure out how to keep it in the air, they turn on the auxiliary power unit, which actually wasn't part of the official protocol for that type of an emergency, to make sure they still had hydraulic control over the aircraft. Then captain starts navigating. Okay, we're in a glide. How far can we go? What direction are we pointed in? Can we make it back to the airport? Can we go to Teterboro, New Jersey? Nope. He makes a decision, and as he's navigating, and that plane is at least stable in the glide, he's able to communicate. He doesn't really talk to the cabin crew or the passengers. He's talking to air traffic control, and that's taking his time. When he realizes that they don't have enough glide path to make it to an airport and he has to go down to the river, the communication stops. There's one communication to the aircraft, which is brace, brace, brace. So the flight attendants, their training kicks in and they know how to guide people. But he's back to aviating at that point. The navigation's set. He's going to land in the river. 100% of his time and attention goes back to aviating. They land, the plane comes to a stop. At that point, navigation isn't necessary, so he's now communicating to air traffic control, to the passengers, physically getting out of the cockpit and walking the aisle to help people along. And through all of that, he still follows this ANC. And so maybe I've talked a little too much about this analogy, but it's a good way of looking at where we're at. For many of us as small business owners, the coronavirus and its impact and the changing rules in which we have to live is forcing us to rethink how we aviate. What do we need to do to keep our business alive? Fundamentally, that's the survival instinct. And for periods of time, that takes all of our time and attention. hopefully now we're at a point where we can step back a little and navigate and put some time to saying, where are we? How long do we think this is going to go? How are we going to get to that soft landing? Right? What do we need to do with our suppliers, with our employees, with our stakeholders, with our customers, with fellow businesses in the community? How are we going to navigate this and get to a point where we survive and come into that soft landing as this comes to an end? And then as we figure that out, we've got the time and energy, we have to be communicating with our suppliers, with our customers, with other business owners, with the community, with each other, even in a format like this webinar. And so as I wake up every day and I think to myself, what am I doing to aviate? And is that going to take 100% of my time? How much time and energy do I have and need to spend on navigate? And the rest of it goes to communication and keeping things moving. Sort of an analogy of where we are and where we're going. And that plays into what we're talking about here today in the subject matter and looking at Office 365, because before the coronavirus hit and COVID-19 became a crisis, remote work was already here, right? We already know that knowledge workers are using more than one device, and the majority of executives in any size business often see their mobile device as their primary device. We know that there's been an explosion in co-working spaces and people are more comfortable working remotely, and businesses are deciding which functions serve well in a remote environment and which still require an office presence. And in many respects, internet access has become ubiquitous, right? You have hotspots everywhere. Most of them are free and accessible. You have hotspots through your cell provider, even your home cable TV provider is having it. And of course, you have the ability on most smartphones to create a hotspot and over the wire, if you will, or over the air tether a device and provide it if you don't have cell service already in your laptop or Chrome device and what you're working with. And so the trend really, as we look at, is also changing to distinguish from collar, how we talk about workers from collar to worker, right? That the distinction between blue collar and white collar has sort of gone away and been replaced by the definition of knowledge worker versus frontline, right? And frontline workers, definitely include what we used to refer to as blue collar, but they include other people as well, more, who aren't necessarily on an assembly line or a distribution floor, things of that nature. And combine that with the trend that, it's estimated that, by the end of this year, probably a little slower now given the economy, that at least at the big enterprise level, 83% of computing will be done in the cloud. And so sort of using the cloud as a way to scale, to manage, to fit this environment. And when we think about knowledge versus frontline worker, the knowledge worker, collaboration's key, it's information centric, it's easier for them to be mobile, and typically multiple devices. Your frontline worker are still more skill-centric positions. It can be teams or individuals. They still need access to information and the communications that the knowledge workers have. Just the nature of their job and how they use those tools is going to be different. And this is what we see happening now, is the view that certain knowledge workers had to be physically in the office. Certain frontline workers had to work in a certain way. And COVID-19, stay-at-home restrictions has really just thrown a monkey wrench in all that, and has really gummed up the works, so to speak. In other ways, it's highlighted the fact that, hey, a lot of positions that we thought had to be in office can be done remotely, can be done remotely efficiently. And there's issues around remote work beyond just the technology as far as socialization and interaction and work management that come into play. And so one of the things we're asking people to do in this time is not panic, right? Aviate, navigate, communicate, calm, cool, and collected there, and avoid the fads, right? And so clearly, for example, one such fad is Zoom. And the reason we're saying avoid the fads is because even free software has a cost. And as companies scramble to grab onto any solution that comes their way that at the time appears to meet their needs, what we have are companies dramatically overcomplicating their IT and their life. I spoke with a small business yesterday afternoon, and 17 employees. They found 4 different video conferencing applications in use. And so when one of their employees has trouble and goes for help, the people responsible for supporting IT for that company have no idea what they're using and how they're using it and how they've set it up. shadow IT is out of the shadows. People are just doing it. They're grasping onto anything that they think will help their business. And what we understand is if you're running Office 365 or you have it, you're considering it, you have that functionality that you want or need already in place. It's a matter of knowing how to use it. And so we look at Zoom, who 2.5, 3 weeks ago came out to the world and said, hey, businesses, schools, individuals, we'll give you a free account. And yes, millions of people signed up and took their Zoom free account and started using it. Their stock price was the only stock going up while the rest of the market was struggling and tanking in many respects. And then on March 18th, the hammer dropped, right? Zoom didn't come out and say, hey, you have to start paying. No, they very quietly on their website changed their privacy policy and acknowledged that they will, in fact, be mining your personal information and providing it to third parties. And to the point that what they're collecting and how they're sharing it is so inappropriate that the New York Times is reporting that the Attorney General of New York has opened a criminal investigation. Vice.com has done a number of articles on this about the type of personal information they're leaking and sharing, even to the point that people accessing Zoom on iOS devices, their data is being given to Facebook, even if that individual doesn't have a Facebook account. So there's no valid reason for that even to be transferred in the nebulous world of what is selling and what is not selling information. And so it's also been shown that while Zoom is saying that they're end-to-end encrypted, they're not. The version of Zoom your staff is probably using is not compliant if you have any sort of regulatory requirement on the security of information. That can be HIPAA, it can be PCI, it can be California's Consumer Protection Act, it can be the new rules in New York, it can be PII requirements under general law here in Massachusetts. They're not meeting the requirements. The service is not meeting the requirements of those factors and those regulations. And earlier this week, late last week actually, the FBI put out a warning about meeting hijacking. In particular, if people are using their generic Gmail or Yahoo or Outlook.com addresses to initiate meetings, Zoom is assuming everyone with the same domain name works for the same company. So if you have a gmail.com, you can hop on and find any meeting for anyone in that environment. So it's a bad idea. There are alternatives and you have that. What we want in this time is collaboration. And the capabilities people and small businesses tell us they're looking for are the social communications, file sharing, video conferencing with that screen share, calendaring, and the tools you have in Office 365 are pretty straightforward. I'm going to show some of them to you here today. Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Outlook. And we're actually going to focus a little bit on Microsoft Teams and OneDrive because those are the first two stops that most businesses need and use. And so what we're going to do today is sort of head into a demo. And this is always a little tricky to do because now I'm going to be sharing a different screen and walking through it live. Mike's going to help me out here. And we'll sort of walk through a scenario and look at some of the different tools and how that sharing happens. So let me pull up my other screen here. And we figure rather than just telling you what's in it, it would be best to walk through and actually demonstrate some of it. And so what we've done here is we've set up a Office 365 environment for a mythical company called Contoso. If any of you have seen other sort of Microsoft 365 demos or been in one of our customer immersion experiences, that name will sound familiar. And we've set up a Microsoft Business 365 environment. So Microsoft 365 Business is a specialized package that includes Office 365 Premium Edition, plus a range of security features that most businesses should have in place, such as advanced threat protection, archive and legal hold on communications, integration with the advanced security features of Windows 10, things of that nature. And it's really designed to help you grow your business. Okay, and so the first place I want to start is with Microsoft Teams. And what's interesting is Teams is evolving as the center of teamwork and collaboration within the Office 365 environment. And many folks even running Office 365 who have been running it for years aren't necessarily as familiar with the features and how it works. And so what you have on the screen right now is a Teams environment. And actually, let me make that a little bigger, make it a little easier for you to see. We'll go up to like 110%. So you can see I've created a team and a whole bunch of people have been added to the team. And when I go into this, Teams is a social tool. You might have heard of Slack. Many companies use it as a replacement for the serial nature of email communications, but it has a broad range of features. So you have that chat feature. You have the ability to create teams, have team calendars, have team file sharing, as you can see by the icons over the left-hand side. And Teams, each team you create when on Teams window has multiple channels, and channels have tabs where you can have your thread posts, files, a wiki, and you can actually integrate other applications. And so I'll pull that up here, and you can see there are a whole set of Microsoft applications and third-party applications, and you can actually integrate other ones that come into play that let you add capabilities and to your team environment. So the idea is that if you work in teams, whether it's departmental or project-based, with customers or just internally, you have the ability to bring in the applications, the information, the communication you need for that team all in one place. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in to our X1050 team. It's a launch team. We're launching a new technology project here, and I'm going to head into our design channel. And you'll see what we have here are conversations, right? And this probably looks a little bit like LinkedIn and Facebook. That's deliberate. This is social communication. This is what Slack tries to do, and some other tools try to do as well. And you'll notice that I can, there are conversations happening. I can reply to existing conversations. And in doing so, I can certainly type something. And you can enhance the communications, right? So you can, as people like to do now, you can put in emojis to express emotion or support. There are GIFs. You can stream video. You can put a video stream in. People can watch a video you've previously recorded or something you've seen that you want to share with them, and have that work to your favor as far as communicating the way people want to work. You can also add people and tag them so that they get notified in their activity stream that there's something that you've replied to or you've started a new conversation and you want them to be in line with. And I've showed you how you can add tabs across the top already in the dialogues available there. Here's an application we've added. It's actually a OneNote notebook. Okay. Ooh, and actually, I don't want to edit the notebook. We'll stay on Teams. Okay, and you can see that I've got a notebook. We're taking notes on about it. We can say, we can add content to it. Any of the features of OneNote. You can do this with a Word document, Excel document, things of that nature. The question is, if you add a file in the chat box, does it automatically add to that file to the file function box? Yes. So when you add files in the chat, they come in and they will be in your file system for that team and for that channel. And so you're gathering all of the information in one place. Okay. If I click on files, you can see the files for this channel within this team. And you can see ownership and you can manage those files. You can download, you can open them immediately at a file level. You're given open options, whether you want to open through the web browser or through the desktop application or edit directly within Teams, and give you a way to manage that data. Okay. So if we go through now, the other thing you have with each team is you have a calendar, as I mentioned before. So let me pull up a calendar. Okay, and you can see here's my calendar. I can go ahead and create a new meeting. And let's call it design review meeting. Okay, and I'm going to invite Lydia Holloway, our product manager, and Christy Klein, who's one of our buyers who sources our parts. We'll do it there, and let's say we want that to start in a few minutes at 11:30 a.m. I have this ability, it doesn't repeat. I can add a channel in, I can add locations, put in text, and I can send that out. Okay. And you'll see that it's now going to show up 12:30. Mike, who's logged in as Christy, will see that in his team's calendar as well. And Mike, why don't we sort of give a little demo of what you can do once you get into that meeting. Shall we join that meeting? Okay, let me reset my audio here. Get back to my calendar and rejoin. It's always a challenge in demos to get things. So Mike, you able to find and join the meeting? So things are running a little slow because we're screen sharing live out, which adds a lot of overhead to the machines. And so I'm actually logged in as Megan, so there's my picture. When you're in a meeting, you can see, okay, it's actually going to give Mike a call so he can join in. He might be having a little technical difficulty. Okay, so the question is, oh, excellent. So Mike's joining. He's in the meeting. Okay. Okay, but I just sent you an invite. So while Mike's finding that invite on his myriad of screens, we got a couple of questions in. So when you go onto the calendar in Teams, does it automatically sync with Outlook calendar? What about Gmail? So we're in the Office 365 ecosystem. So actually, if I go into Outlook, let me open up an Outlook window while Mike's looking. Actually, I've got Outlook here. And pull up my calendar. In Outlook, you'll see that it does in fact sync to the individuals who are involved in the meetings, so that you've got your team view of your calendars and you've got your personal view of calendars as well. So Mike, what we can do is go to the meeting that we practiced with earlier today, the demo meeting. So if you can get into that, I'll join you there in just a minute. Okay, so you can see here is the 12:30 meeting that we just created is part of the demo here, is in the meeting as well as the other meetings we've created over the course of the day. Okay, and so I can pull up. So Mike, you've joined the 12:30 meeting. We'll just do it a little early. Okay. Okay. We'll rejoin. Mike, are you able to get into that meeting? Okay, I think Mike is having a connectivity issue. One of the challenges we face is making sure that we've got enough internet bandwidth out there today. So while he comes and rejoins, I want to cover a couple of other things that you have. So one of the things I did want to talk about was calendar scheduling. And so I'll give that a little bit more of a demonstration. When you look to create a calendar appointment and create a new event, okay. And you invite folks, one of the things you have in the Office 365 ecosystem is you do have the ability to see when you're free. It'll look across people's calendars to see if everyone's available. If they're not, you get blocks. And to add a Teams meeting, you simply click this as well, and it creates that definition. So if I then send this invite and add it to the calendar and come back and open it up, you'll see that everyone's meeting invite has the join information, right? Now, by definition, Teams, when you set up meetings and you're able to do screen sharing, things of that nature, it is by computer to computer. If you want people to be able to dial in by a traditional telephone or have the meeting actually call people at their desks to participate by phone only, you can add in telephone service to the Teams function. And there's a nominal increase in cost per month per user who's doing that to make that happen. Okay. So let me just go back and see if Mike's been able to join our 12:30 meeting. Excellent. Close the window. Okay, and I'll bring over, and I'm going to, just for fun, to prevent any feedback, I'm going to turn off my microphone for the Teams meeting. And I think with the screen broadcast, things a little slow. Okay, so Mike is there. Hi, Christy. Okay, so I think I've eliminated the feedback. Sorry about that, folks. Mike is there, and you can see that clicking an icon, I can share my screen. And so this can be a presentation or another document that's available. So I can go back, for example, and on my desktop, I'm able to share that screen. Include it in. I'll stop sharing. So you can see Mike again. Again, you have the ability to track your participants. You can have in-meeting chats. All of this gets recorded as part of the meeting as well. You can manage your phone, and there are a number of additional features that you have in your meetings. Full screen mode. I can choose to blur my background. And so that'll look, I don't know if Mike, if you want to click on the three dots and blur your background, give people a see of what that looks like. And there's currently a beta version in preview of live captions, which will identify who's speaking and do real-time captioning, which isn't just great for accessibility. It's also great if you're in a large meeting. Sometimes it is hard to keep track of who's doing the talking and who's saying what, so you have that tagging available as well. Okay, so I did want to go out and share and show how easy it is to include windows, right? And so you can see that you are able to share screens pretty easily. Okay, so we'll exit out of that meeting, Mike. Thank you for your help with that part of the demo. And we'll let the system catch up. Okay. So part of also what I want to point out is that when you collaborate in Office 365, you have the ability to access information in ways that are most comfortable to you. Okay, and you've sort of looked at everything from my standpoint, my side of view as one user. I can actually go in and show you from another user standpoint what it looks like. And so here I am in an Internet Explorer window. I'm logged in, and I can go in and I can actually edit things. I'll make it bold and italics just to see the difference. And someone else who's now in the desktop version goes in and sees those changes in real time. Okay, and so what I'll actually do here is I'll make some edits. Oop. Oop. Having a little trouble typing today. We want center signs. And then you can see it immediately shows up. And it actually flags that Linda, the persona I was doing the other editing with, is typing. And so you have the ability not only to, in your meetings, share documents and share your screen, but you have the ability to do real-time editing and collaboration. And so when we think about how we're working now with people working from home offices and the need to work together, maintain your teamwork, yes, you can't just yell over the cubicle wall or walk down the hall to talk to someone, but you have that ability to live chat within the team structure, go into that one-on-one video meeting, even do private chats, as well as both go into a document, edit the document, and see what's happening in real time. So you have the ability to do it. You still also obviously have the ability, to put in comments. And so you can do offline edits as well and suggestions that people will see the next time they take their document into play. And so it's a feel of some of the capabilities. There was a question about how well this, works with Gmail. Obviously, it's Office 365. It's part of the Microsoft ecosystem for Office 365, and it's designed to work. Yes, you can technically run and have Office 365 in place with the Gmail ecosystem as well, but you don't have the same level of integration and what happens with the inbox. And so actually, before I go back to showing things off, let me go back to my primary persona and take a look at the inbox. One of the things you'll notice in the inbox, and this is an Outlook inbox, okay, and you can see that I've had some conversations with Christy. There's some highlights here that also help people work together that are somewhat subtle. Okay, so when I look at emails, you can see that I've got a green check to my mark. That means if Christy's in, she's going to see that I'm actually available and not scheduled to be in a meeting at the moment. She doesn't have that, so she might not be available. You have presence information. Okay. The inbox here is focused. It's trying to use artificial intelligence to bring out what's most important to you as you work based on who you communicate with and subject and content. You can go off to look at other information that the system is saying, well, actually my other was cleared earlier as part of my cleanup and prep today, so we'll stay on the focused. But you can see things that might not be as important, like newsletters you receive and things you want to read. You'll also notice down here that you've got groups. And groups, again, is another construct. They relate with teams as well. It's a way of having a shared inbox that people share. Groups also have file space, and calendars can be attached to them as well. And so you have that ability in a number of ways. In fact, as if we take a look at OneDrive, which is the primary file sharing, this is the file that I opened earlier. You'll notice if I click on this and say, how do I want to open it? Okay, I can open the browser or the app. Also be set up to let you open things into SharePoint as well and use the web-based interface and a SharePoint site. So when you create a team, you're creating a file space. Behind the scenes, there's a web environment for a web interface into it that has a different user look and feel. You can access things through OneDrive and things of those natures. And so you have a flexibility, and people are really able to work the way they want. So it's always hard to do a multiple persona demo like this. One of the things we do offer as a company is a customer immersion experience. We set up one of these Contoso tenants. We can do it remotely, or we can do it in your conference room or ours. And what it does is we give you a persona to log in, we walk in, and you get to be hands-on. It's really not a demo, it's more of an interactive trial and let you play with the features. If you're already running Office 365, we can focus that on features for collaboration and making your workflows more efficient, specific to your business. If you're not running Office 365, it's a great way to demonstrate. So as we step back and we look at the collaboration capabilities of Office 365, what we ask folks to do, again, sort of along the lines of aviate, navigate, and communicate, is where you are right now with your business, what are your desired objectives and outcomes? We know for some small businesses we talk to, the current crisis is existential. They're looking to see and figure out how they're going to survive, if shelter in place continues to May 4th or even gets extended if need be, and how quickly will business and the economy come back for what they do. For others, we've talked to some businesses who have new opportunities because of the current situation. We've talked to businesses that aren't yet sure what the impact is going to be on their customers and how that's going to affect their cash flow and their survivability and their health. So take a look at your current needs and sort of your current readiness. One of the things we're offering, because you're here participating with the Q9 495 chamber, if you want, we're happy to get on the phone with you or on a video chat, a video conference, and talk about your current IT environment and what you need to be operating your business most effectively at this point of time. For the vast majority of customers we talk to, they have the capabilities in place. They don't need to be installing new software and new features and new apps and new tools. It's a matter of making sure people understand how to use the tools they have, and we're happy to provide that guidance there and get you in that direction. So that really gets to defining the value proposition, money, time, and effort of changing your IT environment or leveraging what you currently have to reach those business goals and outcomes, whether it's short-term or long-term, and understand the cost of doing versus not doing. Clearly, this is a time when we expect you, like us, and most businesses are looking to reduce costs. However, we find that in some cases, very small, affordable investments in certain technologies or capabilities can radically improve your ability to achieve those business goals, whether it's survive or thrive at this point in time, whether you're still aviating or you're at the navigation and able to communicate stages of where we are for stability. A couple of quick examples that we look at. We've talked to companies about adding live chat to their website so that if people have questions, they can hit the live chat, and employees from anywhere working from home have the ability to have that interactive reaction, with the customer. Putting in tools and configuring shared inboxes so that when questions come in, hey, if you're all in the office, it used to be great. One person or two people would get that question. They try to answer it. They could walk down the hall or yell over the cube walls, get an answer. Now they can't do that. And so having a shared inbox that lets you take ownership of an issue and hand it off to someone else is also another tool that can augment your environment and help you stay engaged with your customers and work as well. And so as you think about what your plan is strategically, and you look at tactically what you have to do, keep us in mind and keep us in the loop. Hopefully, if you're running Office 365, we've shown you a little bit of how easy and effective it can be to take advantage of some of the features. There really is no need to add additional video conferencing tools. We can add telephony service and phone services. We can expand your existing phone services to connect your workers and keep them aligned. All of this without much headache and in most cases with little or no costs. So at this point, we're sort of more than the 40-minute target I have for my part of the presentation. And so I do want to make sure we have time for Q&A. So if you have any questions at this point in time, please hit up the questions window at the top using the icon at the top or the right-hand side of the screen. If something else comes to mind in the future, feel free to contact us. info@cumulusglobal.com. We'll field your question, and Mike or I or another member of our team, as appropriate, will get back to you quickly. And if you want to contact me directly, my email is there as well. I'll make sure the right resource from Cumulus Global is there for you. If we're not the right company to solve your problem, our promise to you is that we'll help you find the right resources that you need to achieve your goals and objectives. Okay, and so another suggestion is please consider a future webinar on how to use OneNote. The individual saying, I'm guessing it's underutilized. She said no need to respond, but I will point out that yes, OneNote is another area of Office 365 that gets underutilized. There are actually a couple of features that we see in Office 365 that tend not to get as much attention as they should. Next question is, can you use Microsoft Teams to do meetings outside your organization? Yes, you can invite anyone with a valid email address into Teams. There is an administrative setting we need to configure, or that should be configured, that lets people do that, so that by default your teams are private, but your administrator can allow that to be opened up to the outside. It's something we, something we can help you get configured and working. The nice part about inviting people outside your organization into Teams is when they go to join the link, you can run Teams within a browser without installing an app. The desktop app for Windows and Mac is free, and just having an invitation into a team will let you use that app and join the team securely. There is no data mining, there's no gathering, there's no selling or giving information to third parties. Your identity and everything is protected. And then also there are iOS and Android apps available as well. And so we've been involved in team meetings recently where some of the attendees are using the browser on their mobile device. Others are using the mobile app. Others are on a browser or the application on their laptop or desktop. So you have that flexibility. So any other questions at this point in time? So someone is saying, can a user create the external permissions? Yes. So once, let me clarify what I said. Once the administrator has allowed, as a matter of policy, external participation in Teams, individual users can then invite people, by email or by meeting code to join the Teams. And again, the demo environment we have, just because it is a demo environment, doesn't have the integrated telephony. But you can't, people who are going to be hosting Teams meetings, we can add that service to their user account. So in addition to the link that says join the Teams meeting, you actually also are given a dial-in number and a PIN, and that's unique to each meeting host, so that there's no confusion or overlap as people are scheduling meetings. So question is, this is quite robust. If the company were small business, less than 5, for example, would they be able to use on their cell phones? Yes. Office 365, all of the applications are available on both iOS and Android devices. They used to be available. On Windows phones, but those went away. So yes, you can use them on your phones and your tablets. In fact, most licenses of Office 365 allow for installation on up to 5, for each person, up to 5 devices, up to 5 desktop and laptops, up to 5 tablets, and up to 5 phones. And so you can have it installed on your desktop at work. You can have it installed on the laptop you travel with, and you can put it on your home computer if you use that for work. And that's all within the license. Now, multiple humans can't share in a user license, obviously, because your identity is attached to your email, but you do have that flexibility to get it onto your traditional devices as well as your smartphones and other mobile devices. So another question about administrator. If you have Office 365, you should have a user account that's an administrator. That administrator can go in and change the settings. If you're not sure how to do it or want some guidance on it, give us a call. We're happy to help you out. How about backing up of the data that is shared, etc.? Is that happening in OneDrive from the computer, the doc generated from, etc.? So great question, Lisa. So Microsoft and Google and almost every cloud provider has what they call a joint responsibility model. So Microsoft is backing up your Office 365 tenant in your environment, but that is really for the purpose of being able to continue to provide the service should something go wrong in their ecosystem. It's not about you protecting your data. We strongly recommend and almost urge and pretty much require our customers using Office 365 or any cloud service to have a backup recovery solution that covers your content and your data. And so while Microsoft's protections will make sure that if they have a server failure, you can still log in and access your data without data loss, they're not protecting you from someone accidentally or maliciously deleting information. They're not protecting you from an application crashing and corrupting a file that you might need to recover. They're not going to help you undelete the calendar, the appointment that you deleted, or recover email messages that were actively deleted and emptied out of your trash bin. So for those types of things, you do need a backup recovery. in Microsoft's end user license agreement for Office 365, they actually advise their customers and you as end users to have that service. We work with a number of providers that will back up all of your data in Office 365, whether it's an Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint, or Teams. And so we're able to protect that much in the same way that we would expect you to protect data that's on an on-premise file server or on an individual machine. So great question, Lisa. Thank you. Okay, so we are coming up to the top of the hour. I want to thank everyone for joining us here this morning. We'll be working with the chamber. We got some suggestions in the comments about some other topics we might want to cover in demo. We'll talk to the chamber about doing that and getting those scheduled and getting the word out to you. Again, if you have questions, give us a call or send us an email. We're here to help. Again, most of the companies we're helping don't need to spend any new money. In fact, we're finding ways to save them money. And so we're happy to get on the phone or get on a video meeting with you and do the same with you. We're all in this together. And so appreciate you joining us here today. Have a great day. I will hang out for a few more moments with the questions window open if you have any questions, but if not, please feel free to sign off, go about your day. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And everyone, please stay away, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you.